Guys, what is going on? Memorial Day weekend is over. It's a good opportunity to be thankful for all the good men and women who have died for everything that we love in this country. I always enjoy celebrating Memorial Day. And we had a pretty good weekend. But I told you guys, toward the end of last week that I had some videos moving forward that I wanted to go over and do. And one of the ones that we're going to do, the one that I'm going to do today, is the safeguard one. And I've never been a huge fan of just bashing anybody or the industry. I may pick out specific things within each company I don't like, and I voice them, or specific companies and maybe the way they do it, or specific things just in the industry. But I just try not to be another source of negativity. There's plenty of that out there. There's plenty of that in this industry, and we just don't need another source. So when I give you guys my opinion on something, it is strictly from experience, and it is strictly my opinion. Before any of this, I talked to two guys. Both of them were in very rural areas that had very good, profitable relationships with Safeguard. So anything that I say about Safeguard is strictly my experience, and you can take that with a grain of salt. So I got in with Safeguard, I think toward the end of last year. So I've probably been with them for 9-10 months, something like that. And the best month that we had with them was this past January. We done a little over $30,000 in that month with Safeguard, which, in comparison to the other companies we work for, it wasn't the highest, but it wasn't the lowest either. It was right smack dab in the middle. So, and that was on their best month. Most months was not that way. And I want to go over a few good things, and I want to go over a few of the not so good things. But I first would like to just be honest with everybody. We no longer work with Safeguard. Last week was our last week with Safeguard. We're just cleaning everything up now, and we're going to be done with them. And I would like to say that our VAM was great. We had a really, really good VAM. The guy was super easy to work with. He knew his stuff, and he made the experience from all the things that he could control. He made the experience good, and that is, we don't have that relationship with a lot of the companies that we have, that we continue to do business with, that we've done business with for years. So, and the other thing is they have a tremendous amount of work. So I'm not going to take the relationship that we created with our VAM, and I'm not going to take a portfolio they have away from them. They have, a large portfolio, and they've got some really good people up there. And the guys that I spoke to when I was on board, and they were all great people. You can go back and look at some of the other videos, and I really give them a fair shake. I have done this for a while, to the best of my ability. Now, I'm sure there's other companies out there who do things way better than I do, but just the philosophy that I've created and kind of the routine that I'm in and the way that I do it did not really fit well with some of the ways that they do it. I guess one of the very first things you can touch on and just get it out of the way, and I think this applies for anybody who works for Safeguard, they would all agree the website is a little bit glitchy. A lot of the times you'll be an hour into submitting an order, and the website will crash and you'll lose all your data and you'll have to start over. That's not, NFR's does that, MCS has done that, MSI has done that. Like, it's not just something that's unique to Safeguard, but it's something we can touch on. If anybody from Safeguard ever watches any of these videos, maybe that's something they can get addressed. We've went over the pay before. The pay is below average. They were the per item. So, and I'm only speaking on the allowables, the allowable type stuff, water cap, like the grass cuts, that type stuff. On grass cuts, they're way below. We couldn't cut grass with them. I made that very clear from the very beginning. We couldn't cut grass with them, and I'm not sure how anyone, could. I can't even get people here locally to cut grass for me at some of the prices, you know, that they were trying to pay. So the grass cut prices were certainly below, and along with all the rest of their allowable stuff, you know, their winterization, everything was just below average, which I've always said, and I stand true to that, and I mean that's not necessarily the end of the world, and it certainly wasn't the end of a working relationship, because those are just the foot in the door to a property. That's kind of the way that I look at them, and allows you to get in there, get the bid in, and get to work. So, you know, their allowable stuff to pay was below average. Their zones. So, you know, a lot of companies you can just take zip codes. A lot of companies you can take counties. Safeguard wants you to take zones. And their zoning is like, I think it's pretty much on par with like the congressional zoning. So, you know, it basically they try to lump in a little piece of a very populated area, and then lump in a large part of a very rural area, which, if that rural area, that specific zone, if it doesn't mesh with the zone that you've already created for your own company, it really puts you in a bind where you're going way this direction to do things for them that you're not willing to go for all these other companies. So really what would be better is if they just let you do a zip code specific zone. And I know why they don't want people just picking the good zip codes, you know, and then not taking the rural ones. So I kind of understand that, but it does make things a little difficult logistically. And you know, something that's important too getting into this video is I have 4 contractors, really good contractors. Been doing this a long time for me. They do it to the, you know, the standard. They do it to my standard. They call, they ask lots of questions. You know, they are very inquisitive contractors, and they know what's going on. They know how to bid stuff. They know how to do this stuff. That over the last, you know, 9-10 months have gotten the last one as of the beginning of last week, and that was ultimately one of the things that weighed on me to pull the card. And just said, Josh, we don't want any more safeguard stuff. So, and the first one to do it was the guy that's been with me the longest, and he's phenomenal. And the second one was another guy that's absolutely phenomenal. And these are guys that have crews, you know, themselves and crews and multiple trucks running. I mean, these are go-getters, you know, that basically just said they didn't want any more. There wasn't any way to make any money, which, you know, I'm okay with. But the, you know, I'm not going to try to force anything on them. You know, it was tough for me, so I can understand it from their point of view, absolutely. So one of the big issues that I seen with Safeguard is one of the things that they lure you in is they're going to say, well, we're going to give you an opportunity to go to this property when you do the secure, and we're going to give you all these allowables you can do. And the allowables aren't nearly as specific, and I mean the verbiage in the actual work order is not nearly as specific as the standard that they hold it to when it comes to paying you. So in other words, they'll say you have an allowable for up to 6 spigot caps. Well, just your standard house has 5 spigot caps, so that's great. You know, you've got 2 at your washer hookups, you've got 1 at your hot water heater drain, and most of the time you have 2 on the outside. So a logical person would say, well, if I have an allowable for 6 and there's 5, I'm going to cap all 5. Well, then they go to pay you and they're like, well, we can only pay you for the interior spigot caps. And then you look at the work order and it doesn't specify, and that didn't have to happen to me but just a few times before, you know, I realized I'm just not going to do any of the allowables. I'm going to bid it, which is not the way that they want you, you know, to do it. And then for the guys that work beneath me, so my contractors, when you took the allowables out of it, and they done it for themselves, I mean, it happened to them, you know, I mean, just multiple different things that happened with these allowables to where when it finally got time for them to pay, they wouldn't pay what you done, but you didn't actually do anything wrong. It's just something wasn't worded the way that they intended it to be worded in the allowables. So, but when you took the opportunity for allowables out of the work orders, there's no incentive for guys to go there, because that leads into the next big issue, and this is ultimately the biggest issue. This is the one issue that I lose sleep over and I cannot deal with. You know, it's either going to be my way or the highway for anybody 100% of the time when it comes to this right here. If I go out and I bid a property, which means I use my knowledge, my time, experience, gas, and I go out to a property and I put in a set of bids and I bid everything the way that it's supposed to be done, then especially if you come back, because when you submit these bids within Safeguard, you use repair base, which is built into their system. So I don't understand how anyone could, unless they just did it less than the repair base price, and I'm not exactly sure because we've never done that. But I don't understand why there would be any reason why anybody would be getting your bids. And so on multiple occasions, we would go out and we would bid stuff, and then other contractors would come in and do it. And for me, that's an absolute no-go. If you go out and you bid it and they don't want to give you a trip charge, and that's really what it boils down to. It's like, if you want me to go out and bid it, but you can't guarantee that we're going to get the approval, that you may give my bids to someone else. First of all, I wouldn't do this regardless, but at a minimum, we should get a trip charge for going out there. So what ended up happening, or at least what seemed like happened, we was doing a tremendous amount of running around and doing bids, and then we would end up going back to the property and we'd realize that everything that we had bid had been done. But it wasn't done the way that we would do it, you know, so it kind of left us, not only obviously we didn't get to work, but then we're looking at substandard work being done, and it just kind of leaves a little sour taste in your mouth. And so I'm not 100% sure on, you know, why it is the way that it is. I don't work at Safeguard. I'm not, you know, on the board up there. I'm not sure. But, you know, we called several different times and asked, you know, and a lot of the times is they have a limit on how many work orders you can have in your actual portal at a time. So, and this is how ridiculous this is. So, you know, you may have something in there, a bid request, or you may have a monthly marketing check, or you may have something that absolutely amounts to nothing in there. But rather than boot that out and give you an approval, the approval will go, you know, elsewhere. And then if the approval is not done on the due date, they have another portal to where other contractors can go in there and grab your approval, you know, and that's another thing that's absolutely ridiculous. And you know, time frames, due dates, all of this stuff, I understand that in this industry, that is a huge priority. But there also has to be a little bit of logic, a little bit of common sense, that in order for companies and contractors and relationships, but specifically in order for your contractors to get to a point in their business so that they can be exactly what you need them to be, they have to grow their business. And in growing their business, there's, you know, they have to put more irons in the fire than just a Guardian or just a Safeguard or just a MCS. You know, you have to be in with a few of them because you have to have work every day, day in, day out. So you think that there would be a little bit of a grace period. I know with any other national companies that we work for, if they give me an approval for 10 grand and I say, hey, listen, we're not going to be, and today's the 8th, and I say, it's going to be June 16th before we can even get there. They can update that approval. They can let the client know. They can communicate. They can do this, and it's not ever really been that big of a deal. And if it is, they may call and say, hey, man, we have a conveyance date of the 16th or the end of next month. Can we make sure that this thing's ready to go by then? And then it's like, okay, I can shuffle some other things around, but to just put it in a portal and let it go to somebody else, to me, without even giving you an opportunity is a little, I did not like that at all. But then we would call our VAM and he would go have to get it back and bring it back to us. There were several different times. And I mean, 20, 30, where we would be out doing an approval, and I'm not talking about a secure or an allowable or anything, I'm talking about an actual approval to where, and we'd get done with it. This is the day it was due. So it would be done, and we'd go to submit the thing, and it would have gotten reassigned, not canceled, reassigned. So then the next day, we would have to call the VAM, get him, because by this time they're off work. So the next day we'd have to call him and get him to bring it back to us. Well, what if the other contractor would have went there in between that time? So just a lot of stuff from that kind of point of view that I didn't like. And then also the uncertainty with the pay. When you're paying contractors, you need the pay to be accurate. Like, you need to know you're going to get what it is you're supposed to get when you get it, because you've already paid these guys out. And there's one specific incident that happened to me, and this was not even the nail in the coffin. I had done several approvals for them, so I understood that, they may, in their approval, it may be one line item, but what they really mean is when they say do work per bid, they mean do it the way that you bid it, and it's up to you to go out. So if you're trimming the vines and the shrubs and the trees, you've got to go find all of your trimming line items, then all of your debris line items. You've got to add all those numbers up, make sure it comes up to the number that's on the work order, and kind of figure out what it is they're paying you to go do anyways, rather than just take your line items exactly the way you wrote them, exactly the way they were approved, copy them over to a work order to make it to where there's no room for error. That's not what they do. They just lump it into one line item that says, do trimming line item per bid. Well, okay, what all does that entail? Because I bid a lot of stuff. So then you have to go out and you do the math. Well, I had one contractor who got that approval, and it read very similar to that. Do trimming line item, do trimming per work order. I'm maybe paraphrasing just a little bit. But so he went out and he done all of the work. But he methodically went through and cut down this, when he got it on the trailer, he cut it down and cut it down and cut it down so that he could get it in 2 trips instead of 3. So then he didn't meet the cubic yard threshold. Well, the cubic yard threshold that he was supposed to meet, which was 40, wasn't on the work order. He would have just had to have called us, figured out exactly what all this work order entailed, and he didn't, because in his mind he was just thinking, if that was what they meant, then they would have put it on the work order, because that's what everybody else does. So it ended up costing me $800, because obviously I'm not going to let him go unpaid, because he done really, really, really good work. So that's something I have to come out of my pocket for. And from a business point of view, especially in this business, this industry, if you want to be successful, you have to be profitable, regardless of whose feelings you hurt, what you have to do, what direction you have to go. You have to be profitable. And we've talked about it before. You can't let your desire to make money outweigh your desire to do good work. So you have to do good work, but you also have to be profitable. So you have to really pick and choose on who you can do that with and who you can have that relationship with. And I did give them a fair shake, 10 months, and I just decided, it wasn't a good fit for me, my company. I know there's other people, and I'm going to tell you something else. If you are in a very rural area, I would give them a shot. I would give anybody with work in an area, with work in your area a shot, because you kind of have them hung out over coals. If they don't have anybody who can actively compete with you, then you're in a really, really good position. And I think it just so happens in my area, Safeguard has several different people. They may not be, doing things at the scale that we're doing things, but they have several different people, and it allows them to just bounce some stuff around. And it takes a lot of the, leveraging that you can create by being a good company. It just takes that away, because I don't think that doing things the best to produce the best amount of quality is a concern of a lot of nationals. And I will tell you this right now, NFR, without a doubt, is number one. When it comes to quality, when it comes to standard, NFR is number one. Brookstone and Guardian, to me, bring up a close two. Because they want good work, they're willing to pay for it. Now they have high expectations. It's you've got to do this, you've got to do that, but they have great work. Safeguard has a lot of those same expectations as far as what they want you to do, like from a picture standpoint, but not necessarily from a quality standpoint. And that's obvious by some of the people that they're willing to get to go do stuff rather than, do it kind of the way that I would like for it to be done. Now, they're a very successful company. They're a very big company. They have multiple businesses. They own MFS. So who am I to tell them what they are doing and what they're not doing right or wrong? They could be doing all the things right. I could be doing all the things wrong. But regardless, what I look for in a business relationship, they didn't provide, so it really didn't work out. The other thing is we've done a few has claims for them, and I will tell you this, you make less on the has claims than you would doing them through anybody else. To me, when you're doing a has claim, when you become somebody capable of doing has claims, so when you can go out and you can do 30, 40, 50, $60,000 work orders, they're paying you to do this. They can't do these has claims, which means Safeguard can't come down here and do these has claims because Safeguard don't have a general contractor's license in Georgia. They don't have a home builder's license in Alabama. They don't have a builder's license in Louisiana. So they have to depend on you to do them for them so that you can pull permits, you can do everything the right way, the legal way, this, that, and the other. So the percentage on has claims, I think, should be decreased drastically because all of the liability for the has claim is on us. So you're paying me, one, to fork over the labor, fork over the time, fork over the material, that's all my money. And then you're paying me for my knowledge, all of the things I have, but you're also paying for liability because all of the liability comes back on me. So the way that they did the has claims, I think they took 30% off the top of the has claim. It was 30% if it was under 10 grand. I think it was 25% if it was over 10 grand. I can't remember exactly, but it was something along those lines. But it should just be a flat, maybe 10% tops, period. Because if you've done any has claims or you've done anything that involves an insurance company, then you'll know that these adjusters don't always get it right. They leave out a whole lot of stuff, and it puts you in a position anyways where you have to go and fix an extra two things to fix this one thing so that you can get pictures of you fixing this one thing so that you can get paid for the has claim. And there's a lot of that when you're doing these big has claims. And when you just start taking too much off the top, it makes it to where the person doing it, there's just no money in it. When you can go out and you can do insurance work in the private sector and it's not really that hard if you're just willing to go, that is a very strong competitor to, them trying to get people to do has claims, insurance claims, whatever in this industry as well. So, but like I said, I try not to knock people. I try not to bash people. This is strictly my opinion, strictly, from my point of view. And obviously the relationship more than anything needs to benefit me because I'm a business owner. That's just kind of the way that I look at things. And, if there's anybody else, I know there's been people who's successful. Some of the things that I've complained about, if you found some workarounds, you found some better ways to handle stuff, this, that, and the other, leave it in the comments. If you're not in the Discord, please get in the Discord. It's active, very active, a lot of questions being asked. It's a good place, no negativity. There's not gonna be no soliciting for work, none of that stuff. It's not gonna be slammed with people complaining about other people like these Facebook groups. It's a place to where, there's one general chat where you can message everybody. You can direct message people on there you meet if you have very specific questions or this, that, and the other. And you can meet people and that's one of the best things about that Discord is just giving you an opportunity to meet some people who do the same thing that you do and then also bounce some questions off of so that you all can learn. We can all learn and get better together. And like I said, I hope you guys had a good Memorial Day. I'm going to be a lot more active as far as uploading videos, but I think they're more so just going to be strictly of me sitting and talking through something. There's not going to be a whole lot of edits, none of that kind of crap. I don't really, I just don't have the time to sit down and do that. So it's pretty much always going to be from basically the way you see it right now. So, but anyways, I look forward to making some more videos. I look forward to interacting with you guys in the comments, and hopefully you'll join the Discord. So take care. Have a good week. Bye.